Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today. And if I still sound a little stuffy, let's say, or a little sick, or something like that, it's because the pollen is still insane in Virginia. So anyway, I have a bunch of reviews to catch up on. I tried to get these caught up last week, and I just could not, for the life of me, get to this stuff. So there's a lot to talk about on the back burner. I kind of teased some of that last time. Anyway, this review is for The Mummy, the animated series, which I grew up on kinda sorta. I didn't watch it religiously, but I watched it a lot back in the early 2000s before my parents split up. It was on Kids WB, if any of you remember that, where I saw a lot of great cartoons like Johnny Test, for example, before it eventually came to Cartoon Network, and Cartoon Network changed up music and changed up this and that and ruined Johnny Test. In case you didn't know, Johnny Test was way better on Kids WB. For you OGs out there, put it down in the comments section that you remember that. But I saw a lot of good stuff on Kids WB back in the day, and I remembered probably around Thanksgiving last year in 2024 that they had this show, and it was tied to the Brendan Fraser movies. There was only two at the time. And even though I love the first Brendan Fraser Mummy film, I'm a big Universal Monsters film fan anyway, The Mummy Returns is awful. And I didn't see either of those films as a kid, because one part of Returns I did catch when my family rented it back in the day. Scared the hell out of me. But I grew up a horror fan because of Goosebumps and everything else. Many of you already know that, who came from my other channels. And I was really excited to find out that this show was on DVD. And so I asked for it for Christmas for my mom. There was one more disc. I thought there was only two discs. There is a third volume that I ended up having to buy on my own. And I recently watched the whole show all the way through. And I gotta tell you, man, the show kinda held up, to be honest. It's not the greatest cartoon ever, but if you're looking for kind of a pulp adventure, but more for kids than the movies was, this is great. If you're like me and you love mummy stuff and Egyptian stuff, I love looking at and learning about Egyptian culture despite being a Christian. And I think the stuff is fascinating to look into, just the way the pyramids are built and so on and so on. There's so much to talk about with that stuff. But yeah, essentially, the mummy, Imhotep, is resurrected, and also played by Jim Cummings. So Winnie the Pooh is playing Imhotep, the mummy, and he also sounds like Tigger when he talks, which is hilarious. He is an old priest coming back to life, and he goes after Alex and his family, the O'Connors. Jonathan is also in here too from the films, which I really like. And you actually have a really good cast here, by the way. The dad, Rick, Brendan Fraser's character, is played by John fucking Schneider from Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, I love John Schneider. I'm a huge fan of his. I don't know how I didn't recognize his voice when I was a kid. Maybe I was a little too young. I was less than 10 years old, but he has a pretty distinct voice, and he's really good here as the dad. The dad is probably my favorite character from the films and here. You have, like I said, Jim Cummings playing Imhotep. You have Grey Griffin playing Evie, the mom, who is, if you don't know, Mandy from Billy and Mandy. I love her too. It's my favorite cartoon of all time. She's one of my favorite voice actresses of all time. Jonathan is played by Tom Kenny. SpongeBob himself is in here playing Jonathan. It's hilarious when he gets panicked and screaming because it sounds like SpongeBob. Anyway, so I really enjoyed this, and I also happen to get the kind of first 3 or 4 episodes edited into a TV or straight to VHS movie. It's called The Mummy Quest for the Lost Scrolls. Now, I did not watch that. I don't plan on reviewing it because, again, apparently it's just a few episodes edited together. I don't know if the music is better or different or whatever. But the show itself is basically, like I said, every episode is a standalone pulp adventure of Alex being our main character instead of Brendan Fraser. Rick, But they're all there, the gang is there, and you're having a fun, crazy Egyptian adventure. But they don't just stay in Egypt, they go all over the planet. They make new friends from, tribes and different areas and stuff, but a lot of it is Egypt-focused. Now, later in the show, they actually do something a little bit different. I think it was now there's only one season of the show, right? But halfway through the season, they start this new thing, and if I remember correctly, if I'm seeing it correctly on the actual DVD I'm looking at, I think it's called Secrets of the Magi, which is kind of like trying to train Alex up, the kid, the main character, into being like, you remember the Muslim guy and his group from the first Mummy film and kind of the other ones, but mainly the first one. His character is in here as well, and he's trying to train Alex into being a warrior. And that's pretty cool. I actually like that stuff. One of the things I forgot to mention is that when Alex has this Imhotep mummy come back to life, he has some kind of bracelet that gets attached to his hand that when he's in a panic situation or he's focused enough, he can actually do supernatural things like lift objects, protect his family, whatever. It's mostly moving stuff and telekinesis with it, but he can't take the bracelet off. So it's kind of a little bit of a mystery in there too, but nothing too profound because it is a kid's cartoon. I guess when we'll talk about the animation itself, the colors are really nice on this show. I really enjoyed looking at it. The animation itself is very well done. Very well done. There's not really a whole lot of skipped frames. There are moments where you see a character, quote unquote, saying a line and their mouth is not entirely moving. It moves like one time, but that is what it is. You know what I mean? I can forgive stuff like that in cartoons. A lot of snobs, and anime snobs especially, cannot let stuff like that go. I don't really think it matters to me most of the time. It's kind of like when you watch a sitcom and an actor has to wait for the audience to finish applause for, whoever came on the scene, maybe a cameo guest spot or something. People are really weird about that when they, quote unquote, review sitcoms. I see that a lot with the show I just finished for the first time, Married with Children. A lot of podcasts and review sites and stuff and YouTubers always complain about that for some reason, the applause hold thing. But it's one of those, the animation thing is one of those things that doesn't really matter to me in that department, despite seeming sloppy to some people. But anyway, I think it's a really fun cartoon for what it is. I'd put it on the level, for me personally, in my taste, with something like Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I'm not the craziest, biggest fan of that show, but I never finished that show, so I don't know how great it was, how disappointing it was. Everybody tells me that show was amazing. I saw maybe the first 5 or 6 or 7 episodes of that show, and they were mostly standalone episodes about each hero, which is fine. This show being more of pulpy adventures is more up my alley. So I would compare it to that, Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, like I said. But I liked the Mummy cartoon. I thought this animated series was pretty decent for what it wanted to do. If you haven't watched it before, if you don't remember it back in the day of Kids WB, man, it's not bad. It's got a nice little touch of horror in there. They fight a lot of monsters and creatures like, giant beetles and, worms and shit. It's really fun in that way. If you've ever read Goosebumps books that have this Egyptian kind of tone and feel to it, like there's a newer book from not too long ago, last year, called Night of the Living Mummy from Goosebumps' House of Shivers series. And if you like books like that kind of jump around in dimensions and go into like at the time, Egyptian culture for that book and for this show, you would like the show, I think, if you're like a Goosebumps fan from back in the 90s and 2000s. This is right up your alley, man. Anyway, that's all I really have to say about the Mummy animated series. I do recommend it for the right person. If you try out like the first few episodes, or you try out the movie Quest for the Lost Scrolls and you don't like it, it's probably not going to be for you. It's probably not worth continuing the rest of the season or buying them. They're not insanely expensive, surprisingly enough. I thought where these DVDs came out like a long time ago, like pre-2010, I thought these would be way more expensive to get my hands on, because I've never seen these out in like Goodwills and pawn shops and stuff. So I thought they'd be really hard to get your hands on, but it's not, surprisingly enough. So I'm glad for that. I'm thankful for that. I had a good time. I think most people would. I think kids would. If you want to introduce your kid into like more horror stuff, this is really nice for them too. It's a very soft horror. So anyway, what do you guys think about the Mummy animated series? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Did you have good memories of watching this back in the day? Let me know your favorite Kids WB cartoon down below. I don't really recall what mine would be. It's probably Spectacular Spider-Man. That's a really great one if you haven't seen it. I don't know of any other ones that would be my absolute favorite. I don't think Beast Wars was on there at that time. I don't think it was. I don't remember what channel Beast Wars came on. But anyway, Let me know what you think down below. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.